From the basement of La Penta, this is WICR.
Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe and Big Shot Rob rolling along with today's show, and I want to apologize to Rob because I keep on interrupting him to watch the UEFA Champions League. Manchester City now down 2-1. They want to thank Antonio Copeland in the back for keeping me well fed with the feed back in the control room, and Johnny Diaz and Armand Medeo, I guess, for motivational support. But I think when we look at this, Rob, we got to start off with Marcus Mariota because I mean, look, it's no secret how much we enjoy talking about the guy in his college career. Now in the NFL, we got a treat, him against Jameis Winston, and I think to say that Marcus was the star of Week 1 is an understatement because I think he really stole the show. How much confidence did you have in Marcus going into this game? For me, I never doubted it, but what did you think?
You know, Joe, coming into this game, I was a little bit scared for him. I just felt when you look at the matchup with the Buccaneers, Winston had more weapons around him with Vincent Jackson, Mike Evans, and I felt Marcus really didn't have the weapons around him. But you know what? You have to look back at what he did in college. He always plays the game safe. And you know what? Marcus is very smart with his ball control, got his passes in, got 4 touchdowns, and he had a hell of a game.
I don't think there's any other way that you could say it. I mean, he was just... I think the biggest thing that you could see from him was there was total trust in him by head coach Ken Whisenhunt because he just had full command of the offense. The way that he had snap counts to draw the Buccaneers off sides, the tightness of the throws that he was making, just the overall poise of him at the line, making adjustments, making the calls. Everything about him screamed he had supreme command over his offense, and that's a reflection of hard work, of film prep, doing all those right things. And that's why one of the reasons I never doubted him is because when you have a guy like that, I think that's a guy who knows he's got a lot of work to do to make that adjustment from Oregon to the National Football League. And I think it clearly showed he put in the right amount of work because he was phenomenal. For me, was the star of Week 1. But was he the star of Week 1 for you, Rob?
Oh, most definitely. I didn't see him having that high of a performance with 4 touchdowns, and really surprised me. Definitely deserves it for this week, Joe. He really stepped his game up. We saw the man from last year, the Heisman winner from last year. He's just continuing on what he does best.
He absolutely does, and I couldn't have said it better. Now, obviously, with a winner of Week 1, there's always got to be a loser. So, Rob, you kick it off for me. Who is your loser for Week 1?
Oh, Jameis Winston, Joe. Oh, my gosh. I don't know what he was doing out there. 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. I mean, he did throw 2 touchdowns, but he kind of reminded me of Ryan Leaf in Ryan Leaf's first start. Ryan Leaf went 16 for 31 in his first start. Winston goes 16 for 33. Leaf had 1 touchdown, Winston with 2, but they both had 2 interceptions in their first games. And, I mean, we look at this year, Mariota Winston, it kind of reminded me of Manning Leaf. And now, after Week 1, it kind of reminded me again. We're seeing the superb quarterback in Mariota. And then Winston, I don't know what was going on in his head. We just see the struggles from the preseason. I have no idea what this guy was doing. He has so many weapons surrounded around him, and he just doesn't know how to utilize them correctly.
I mean, you can say if you agree with me or not, but I kind of feel like it's not a coincidence that Marcus and Jameis kind of separated each other 4 minutes into the game. Marcus, the first drive, 5 plays, bring the Titans to a score, first touchdown. Jameis Winston, the first snap of his NFL career, and then he throws a pick 6. I got to be honest, I really don't think that's a coincidence. Now, Jameis, of course, had all of the things you would ever want in an NFL quarterback, but again, I worry about decision-making in the National Football League, and that's one thing Marcus has always had on his side is great decision-making. I mean, all you have to do is look at his career in Oregon. Very, very low turnovers. Last year, he only threw 4. 2 in the regular season, 2 in the postseason. So you tell me, Rob, was that a coincidence, or is this kind of summing up or what the difference is between these two quarterbacks?
This kind of sums it up just about with Mariota always being safe and Winston not being safe, the guy who he'll have his turnovers. We saw Winston, after his freshman year at Florida State, his Heisman-winning year, his championship year, he kind of slowed it down completely last season and fell apart. I mean, Mariota's playing it safe, but there's still 15 more games to go, and I want to see him how he goes up versus tougher defenses in the NFL.
And it's true, and that's always the old adage is you're never as good as you look in week one, and you're never as bad as you look in week one. And I know a lot of Broncos fans are certainly hoping that that's the story with the way that Denver looked. Now, they do secure the win, and at the end of the day in the National Football League, that's really all you can care about is that you get the win. Doesn't really matter how you do it. You just got to make it happen. But they do win 19-13 against the Baltimore Ravens. And one of the interesting things, it was the first opening game since 2003 that Peyton Manning did not throw a passing touchdown. So, Rob, let me ask you, should Broncos fans be worried about Peyton Manning this year?
Oh, most definitely, Joe. I just feel we look back at the end of last season, Manning slowly went on the decline. And then versus the Colts last year in the playoffs where Andrew Luck embarrassed him in Denver, we're seeing the end of Peyton Manning's career. I mean, it's not going the way that we expect it would, with Manning ending it on a high note. I mean, I know there's 15 more games to go, but I'm not impressed with his throws, not impressed with what's going on. And I think halfway through the year, we might see some changes with this Broncos offense.
I mean, I think the interesting thing is I agree with you there's going to be a decline. The interesting thing here is I think when you look at Peyton in that game, he still has that unsurpassed just control over the game, ability to read and pick apart the defense, understands always what they're trying to show him. I don't think there's anybody that we've ever seen who can do a better job at that. But I think the thing, like you said, that worries me is the physical decline. Sometimes there's just not much you can do around that. And remember, the last time that we saw Peyton Manning, it wasn't pretty. I mean, his throws, everything, it didn't look good. Now, again, it's week one. You can't overreact, and you can't worry too much. But I think that there's a little bit of concern there. I really do. I mean, because especially when we look at the AFC, the Chiefs looked really good in their week one performance. The Chargers were down 21-3 and found a way to come back. The Raiders, we are still kind of rebuilding, so we don't really count them. But, I mean, they're going to face a lot of competition. I think they're going to face more from the Chiefs and the Chargers than they did the last 2 years.
Oh, most definitely, especially the way Phillip Rivers has been playing for San Diego. Once he's on a roll, he'll keep going. And, I mean, the defense has gotten better for San Diego. They're a team that could easily knock Denver out and win this division. I mean, even the Chiefs are another good team. Chiefs have a great defense. Alex Smith has some good wide receivers. The Raiders, though, I think they could put up a nice little fight versus Denver and really cause a lot of stir-ups in this division.
I mean, that's the interesting thing about it, and the Chiefs and the Broncos will be taking on each other, which is going to be a very interesting one. But I think when we also look at the Week 1 opening matchups, in terms of disappointment, would the Seahawks count as a disappointment to you? I mean, look, the Rams are a very good football team, very good roster. They're at home. But you would think, obviously, the team that just made it to the Super Bowl, one of the best teams in the National Football League, losing Week 1 is always a disappointment. But what do you think?
I don't think it's a disappointment. You know, I talked to a lot of people last week because in my league I had picked the Rams to win this week. And I go, listen, you have to look at it this way. Nick Foles is on the Rams. What's been the missing piece for the Rams over the last 3 years? Jeff Fisher hasn't had a quarterback, a steady quarterback. Sam Bradford's been out with so many injuries. He's had a defense. So this loss, it's kind of expected for Seattle. St. Louis has the offense. They have an offense. They have a great defense. And it's all together at once now, and they're going to be really tough in the NFC West. So, I mean, with the Seahawks, not really a surprise loss for me.
I mean, I agree with you. I think the Rams, again, are a very good football team. You know that the NFC West teams always are going to beat up on each other. And speaking of beating up on each other, we go back to the Cardinals for a minute, sticking with the NFC West, because I think the Cardinals are always still one of those teams that are so underappreciated just because they don't have that flashy quarterback, yet they still win 10 games in the NFL. I mean, and it's all Bruce Arians. It really is. I mean, whenever I picked them to lose this opening game, Rob, I'll be honest. I thought that the Saints were going to come in with a new look, new vibe to them. But no. I mean, Arizona just in control. Carson Palmer looking good. I still don't think Bruce Arians gets the acknowledgement he deserves. But what about you? Yeah,
he doesn't get what he deserves. He's a great coach. He really has changed Arizona. Joe, what's one main thing with Arizona that's not so great? The running game.
Yes.
So it's amazing how we look at what their defense did last year. The only reason why they probably win why they lost in the first round of the playoffs was because Carson Palmer was out with the ACL injury. Carson Palmer is still playing at the end of the year, this team's definitely a Super Bowl contender. So this Arizona Cardinals team, Bruce Arians has really changed them, and I feel that they could have a real big impact this year.
Let me ask you this. Is there another coach who could do what he has done with this Cardinals team?
No, I don't think so. I feel that Arians is more of a motivational coach. We saw what happened with the Colts when Pagano got sick, and Arians kind of had to take that load, a heavy load with, you lose your head coach, have Andrew Luck, a young Andrew Luck. How do I lead this team? And he found a way to talk to these guys, get them into the right shape, got them in the playoffs. So you know what? Arians is a very great coach when it comes to talking to his players, getting them down, preparing them, and he's a great motivational speaker.
Well, I think that is not a better way to wrap up this segment. As we move into our next one, don't go anywhere. We will be right back.